Hello everyone, my name is Havian, and today I'll be talking to you about Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet. A few weeks ago on Twitter and Facebook I asked what questions you would like to ask the producer of the Sword Art Online series if you had the chance. Most of the questions that you all sent were things that I was personally interested in asking myself, so I put everything together and they were sent over to the development team. Your questions have been answered and there are some interesting bits of information contained in some of the responses. A few questions did get a bit lost in translation, but I'll do my best to clarify the answers that were given. The first set of questions were focused on the multiplayer side of the game, since I wanted to get more of an idea of the direction they were planning on taking it. The first question was, is there anything in Fatal Bullet that enhances the multiplayer experience for players compared to the previous games? And they replied with, the most enhanced part is the 4 vs 4 PvP mode and the co-op play of up to 4 people. People who love co-op modes or matching will be able to enjoy this game. The follow-up to this question was, how is the PvP system in the game being handled? As of right now, we know the game will have 4 vs 4 competitive mode, but can we expect to see a bullet of bullet mode? And they said, there are enemies in the 4 vs 4 battle mode, so players will be able to enjoy a fresh battle. I am also going to implement various elements for matchmaking. Since they've been showing the PvP side of the multiplayer more than the PvE in the developer streams, I wanted to ask a question that would help me understand the direction they were trying to take the PvP. So I asked, what are your thoughts on esports, and do you think the PvP in Fatal Bullet can find a place in the competitive scene? This was their reply. Personally, I think esports is very exciting. Unfortunately, the Sword Art Online games focus on the RPG elements. In the future, I would like to consider how we could adapt the exciting elements from Sword Art Online and offer these to fans as an esports game. Even though they've been showing a lot of their Fatal Bullet PvP mode, just like in the previous games, the multiplayer will still be focused on cooperative play. The PvP modes currently seem to be a PvP and PvE hybrid, where you have to defeat enemies while fighting the opposing team. Fatal Bullet's multiplayer is similar to what has appeared in the past games, but as of right now, all the online content seems to focus on the 4-player team experience. A lot of people have been concerned about the PC version of the game, based on the keyboard and mouse controls in the previous ports, and the potential for cheating that can take place. So I asked a few questions that focus on the PC version of the game specifically. The first question I asked was, players that frequently play in multiplayer come across other players that like to cheat or abuse game systems to gain an unfair advantage. With the PC version making things like cheats easily accessible to players, will there be any steps taken to actively combat this? And they said, of course, we are planning to take countermeasures by putting mechanisms into the game. Also, if you come across such players, please let us know. Personally, I think people can do what they want with their game offline since it doesn't affect other people. But if you see obvious cheaters playing online, then be sure to gather some evidence and send it over to Bandai Namco. Cheating and exploiting isn't something that's PC exclusive, it applies to all the platforms, so let them know. The next question was, is the Steam version of Fatal Bullet being developed with keyboard and mouse controls that you would expect from a third-person shooter on the PC? And they said, yes, this will be supported. This is something I'm sure PC players that have played the previous ports will be happy to hear. It's been a hot topic since the PC announcement, and now we actually have confirmation on the keyboard and mouse controls. Since people with lower end PCs were concerned if the game would work for them, I asked, the PC requirements have not been revealed yet, but can people with low end systems still expect to play the game at lower graphical settings? This is what they had to say. Covering all graphical settings might be impossible, but we are trying to support as much as we can. Regarding specific detailed information, please stay tuned for more information. Even though they couldn't give a direct answer, at least it seems like they have taken this into consideration. Looks like we need to wait until they show the system requirements before we know how the game will perform on lower end machines. The next set of questions focus on Fatal Bullet. Most of these are what the community wanted answers to, so here are those questions. The first question was, Holo-realization released in the West very close to the Japanese version, but it took a long time for the game updates to reach the English version. Will we be seeing more consistent game updates in Fatal Bullet? This was their reply. The main content post-launch will be downloadable content. We will try to release them as close as possible to the Japanese release window. While it doesn't sound like the updates will be released at exactly the same time as Japan, it does seem like we won't have to wait for updates as long as we did back when Holo-realization was released. Updates did start releasing faster for the Sword Art Online games, so hopefully the wait time for patches and DLC will be short in Fatal Bullet. The next question was, in Japan, Hollow-Realization and now Fatal Bullet have beta phases on the PS4. Will there be anything like this for the Western versions of the game moving forward? And they said, unfortunately there are no plans for Western beta phases. This is due to the development schedule and timing. I guess that's an understandable response for Fatal Bullet, since it may be easier and quicker for them just to have smaller scale testing phases in Japan, but hopefully they'll include the other regions for future games. The next question was, since Fatal Bullet used games like Fallout, Destiny and The Division as reference, what were the biggest influences taken from those games? This was the reply. Fatal Bullet's open world design has been inspired by Fallout, but the game's cycle and balance was inspired by Destiny. I made a video in the past that discussed the possible influences from Destiny and The Division, and I touched on a few things that could influence the game flow. When it comes to balance, I assume they use Destiny as a reference when working on the different weapon types and their behaviors. And when it comes to Fallout, I would assume they're going to have open world sections with dungeons that you can explore within certain areas. The next question was, people enjoy playing through the main story, but they also love the post-story equipment grinds that comes with the Sword Art Online games. Can players expect things like frequent game updates, limited time events, and lots of endgame activities to take part in with Fatal Bullet? This was the reply. Of course that is planned. Look forward to enjoying Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet. That was a pretty confident reply, so hopefully there will be a lot to look forward to in terms of content. The next question was, what should we expect from the equipment and character progression systems in Fatal Bullet? This was the reply. There are over 10 weapon types and various equipment, so users are able to customize their own characters. Players will also be able to freely allocate stats after leveling up. The next question was, we have seen that player freedom is a big theme for Fatal Bullet. How will our choices impact the game? And they said, players are able to enjoy the game with their favorite party, weapons, skills and costumes. There is high flexibility in the customization that will offer another experience to the players. I've gone over the customization options in Fatal Bullet in previous videos, but compared to the previous games, it seems like they really want your character to be unique. It does look like they're trying to give players as many options as they can, so you can build a character to fit your playstyle. The next question was about some of the character design changes in the game. When the game was first announced, KIRITO and SINON had the same Gun Gale Online character design as the anime, but it's not their main design for the game anymore. Some of you are interested to know why their appearance changed, so I asked them, was there a particular reason why KIRITO and SINON got a design change for Fatal Bullet? And they said, this is the first time we've adapted Gun Gale Online into a game, so I wanted players to have a unique and special experience. I believe these experiences are very important. The Sword Art Online games have always followed their own storylines and timeline. The events that take place in the anime or novel don't happen in exactly the same way, and certain events don't happen at all. But with Fatal Bullet, it seems like they're branching off even further to try and make the game stand on their own. The next question asked was there anything added to Fatal Bullet based on the feedback received from the previous games? And this was the reply. In Fatal Bullet, players are now able to create their own avatars. This was inspired from the feedback we received from players who played the previous titles. This was challenging for us. Prior to Fatal Bullet, I assume they used feedback from their Japanese player base, but based on what I've seen, it does seem like they're listening to the feedback from players in the rest of the world now too. The next question was, in comparison to Hollow-Realization, how big is the game world in Fatal Bullet? And they said, the game volume is almost the same size as Hollow-Realization, however the playstyle is different in comparison. In terms of size, Hollow-Realization wasn't a small game at all, so this is good news. But what matters most is the content that's available within the world, and if that content is fun, rewarding, and challenging at times. Since the game isn't that far away, I'm sure we'll learn more about what the game world is like. The next question is something I've seen asked since the game was announced, and that is, can we expect to see any romance systems in Fatal Bullet? And they said, the romance system may not be a main subject. Fatal Bullet will still contain the CG scenes that we've seen in the previous games, but it does seem like the romance system will remain something that is exclusive to the games set within the Sword Art Online game worlds, like Hollow Fragment and Hollow Realization. The next question was, will our created character in Fatal Bullet be a character that we can bring along into future games? And they said, that's a good idea. We may adapt your idea. So whoever sent that question my way, your idea may become something that continues in this series, so good job. The next question is one that I've seen a lot. Since the game won't be coming to the Vita, people have been saying that they would love to see the game on the Switch. So I asked, the Switch is a new platform, but it already has a very dedicated user base. The community has been very vocal to me that they would love a Switch version of Fatal Bullet since portability is very important to them. Is this something that you have considered? And they said, I think the Switch is a very interesting platform. Given the chance, I would like the challenge to release this game on the Switch. So there you have it, the Switch is certainly a possibility, but I'm sure it'll all come down to things like funding, development schedules that don't interfere with their other projects, and whether they see a demand for it. The Sword Art Online games are now releasing on PC and Xbox because fans have been requesting it for a while now, and I'm sure the same thing can happen for the Switch. The next set of questions were general questions about the Sword Art Online games. The first of those is, how much involvement does Kawahara-san have with the stories and characters within the Sword Art Online games? And they said, as usual, Kawahara-san supervised. However, he does give us good advice in regards to the scenario and plot. The next question was, Clan and Ago have a lot of fans within the community, and they feel they don't get the same level of attention as some of the other characters. Will they have more of an active role within the future Sword Art Online games? And they said, personally, I want them to have more of an active role. If this is necessary for the scenario, we will consider it. Honestly, I was surprised to see that he wanted Klein and Agil to have more of an active role. Hopefully in the next game they'll have more of a purpose, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. The next question was, have you considered making any spin-off games for Sword Art Online, like a Muso or fighting game? And their reply was, of course. Sword Art Online has huge possibilities. We look forward to the next possibility. The next question is something people have been talking about for a few years now, an English dub. Here's what I asked. There are a lot of fans that love the Japanese audio for the Sword Art Online games, but there are also a lot of people that know the Sword Art Online characters with their English voices. Both the English and Japanese voices are something people would love the option to choose. Is there any possibility of this happening in the future? And they said, if fans want to have an English dub for the future Sword Art Online games, it could be a possibility. Fatal Bullet will not have an English dub, but for those of you that were hoping the games would eventually get English voiceovers, there you go. They are now aware that people want an English dub, but we will have to show them that the demand is actually there in a constructive way. Honestly, the best outcome for this is if the games come with dual audio from now on. That way everyone wins. And the final question was, is there anything you would like the Western Sword Art Online gaming community to know? And they finished by saying, I want all the fans to know there are various exciting Sword Art Online experiences to enjoy, such as the anime, novel, and games. And there we go. Those were all the questions I sent to them this time, but hopefully I'll do one of these again in the future. I hope this answered some of the questions you had, or at least I hope you learned some new information about the series. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone that is interested in the Sword Art Online series, or even RPGs with online co-op. If you want to view my live streams, then follow me on Twitch, and if you want to stay up to date with everything I'm doing, then be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description. If you are someone that streams or watches Twitch, I created a Sword Art Online streaming community, so head over to the page that's linked in the description and give it a follow. Feel free to stream to the community now or find other Sword Art Online streamers to watch. Things will really kick off once Fatal Bullet is released, but I thought I'd get the ball rolling a little bit earlier. I'll be making some new videos very soon, but until I make those videos, I will see you all later.